Welcome to My Forever Home, the podcast. I'm Frances Cosway and I've helped hundreds of people create forever homes. I know firsthand how different it is creating a forever home rather than a house you plan to flip in a few years' time. I believe your forever home should reflect what you love and suit your lifestyle rather than being about trends and resale value. You're creating a home for you and your family, not anyone else. So I'm here to help and guide you along the way. I'm going to share all there is to know about creating a quality forever home that's functional, sustainable, future-proof and adaptable to your family's changing needs so it's multi-generational. We don't do cheap and nasty here. We're about creating things to last. It is your forever home after all. I want to help you gain the knowledge you need to be planned and prepared to create the forever home of your dreams. I can't wait to share the journey with you. So let's start. Hello and welcome to this festive edition episode of the My Forever Home podcast. I am going to be chatting to you about theming your Christmas. And actually, it's more than just about your tree. I'm going to be talking about how you can decorate your home, but how you can actually think about how you can create a theme. So rather than just putting up a Christmas tree and hoping for the best, it's how can we create a coordinated feeling. This is ringing a bell with other things I talked to you about, isn't it? For your Christmas home. Now, we're obviously in December now. It's 2025. I recently put up my Christmas tree and I very, very consciously chose a very specific theme. There was a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, I wanted to have something completely different to what we had last year. And the main reason, though, is because I'm having a very close friend of mine come out with his family from Slovenia, and they're having Christmas with us this year. So I thought, wow, what better opportunity for me to create an Australiana theme, not a tacky Australiana theme, a classy Australiana theme, or rather a Australian botanicals theme. Now that makes it sound better already for my home, to give him a very different experience than what they have in Ljubljana in Slovenia. And I've been there at Christmas time and it is the absolute classic, snows everywhere. And I don't mean a little bit of a sprinkle like one Christmas I had in Scotland or London or Amsterdam, which was just a little sprinkle if you were lucky. In Ljubljana, it is hardcore Christmas. There are the Christmas markets along the river. There is really thick snow, probably around 2 to 3 feet thick. And it is super cold. So them coming over from Slovenia to have Christmas here this year is going to be a completely different experience. So for me, the theme is Australian botanicals. So what I did with my tree, and I'm going to go through with you what I did with my Australiana theme, or let's call it Australian botanical theme, but there are actually other things. I'm going to run through some of the other themes and things that you can do and how you actually sprinkle it throughout your home. So I just want to use mine as an example. I'll just talk about the tree first. So with this Australian botanicals theme, I chose a lot of things from my garden. Now I have a native garden, and I was actually had a theme similar to this maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and I kept some of those dried botanicals like my banksias. I kept my grasses, I kept some of the eucalyptus leaves, and then I just supplemented it and got more. So this is all dried. Some of it you can get fresh from the garden as well. And I also had some floral arrangements that just happened to be sitting around, the dried flowers. So I took some things from that. So I had gum nuts. I've got eucalyptus leaves in there, different types. I've got a little bit of coriander leaf. I have proteas that have come from the farm. I had banksias in my garden that I had left purposely on the bush, knowing that it needed to be pruned. But I thought, no, I'm absolutely going to use these for the tree. We had little bits of kangaroo paw. I had a little bit of yellow botanicals. I even put a little bit of gyp in there. So yeah, I had a bit of 1980s retro vibe with some gyp, and that just added a little ever so slight element of color into the tree. Now, I have actually posted this onto Instagram. So on the White Pebble Interiors Instagram page, I did a time-lapse video of the tree, but I've also done some close-ups. So you can get a really good idea of how this Australian botanical themed tree came about. Now, of course, it's not ritz and gliss. There's no, metallics and things like that. It's very earthy. It's very organic, very natural, very botanical. And of course, I've used a lot of Australian botanical, which has really elevated that theme by using pretty much exclusively Australian native plants and flowers within the tree. And I have to tell you, it was super easy. I didn't have to add anything to the branches. You just popped it all in. So it made it really quick, and it'll be really quick to take everything out as well. I didn't have to, a lot of the time with my glass decorations, in other years I've had to add wire to the fishing wire, because it's the ornaments have actually been too heavy. So then I have to really wrap the wire around each stem of the tree. I didn't have to do any of that with this, because all these little bits of botanicals and things just sort of went in between where the branches are. So the other thing that I added into this theme, and then that now becomes a nature theme. So I've sort of had the tree as an Australian botanical theme, and then I've added throughout the home a nature theme. So that meant that any decorations that I had that were silver or red or green or anything that had a little bit of glitz or bling was absolutely out of this theme. So I have several boxes of of Christmas themed decorations. So they're clearly labeled, and I've got my nature box, and then I had my, my silver and red box. Well, I didn't even have to get those boxes out of the garage, because I knew that that wasn't going to be part of the theme. Now, with a nature theme, that meant for me we were using natural materials. So I brought out the timber ornaments, which I did put on my tree, but if they had any color in them, that was a no-no. They weren't allowed on the tree. It was purely natural timber and organic type of ornaments that I was adding to the tree and around the home. So again, I used to have, or I have brought out in the past, magnificent silver angels, magnificent painted angels. I've had, or I do have, many different types of ornaments and decorative things, but it needed to be and fulfill this all, natural theme. So I do have some decorations that are, for example, timber reindeer. They made the grade. I had some organic angels that almost look like they're made out of a clay. Also noticed that one of my daughters had broken the head off and glued that back together secretly. So she did a good job. So they came out. But there's definitely a lot less in my home that I would normally have. Now, what I did bring out, and this is what I was just about to say a little bit earlier, with a nature theme, I think that you can incorporate red quite easily. So you've got your really earthy greens with, your eucalyptus leaves, your olive leaves, anything that's sort of leafy has got those earthy greens, so they work. But the bright green of Christmas doesn't really work with this natural theme, I don't feel. But red, I think, does, because you've got your red currants that come out at Christmas. You also have the holly that comes out as well, which has got often the little red flowers as well, or the little red berries. So I feel that they work really well. So what I did bring out to work in with this natural organic botanical theme was, I do have some that they almost look like red berries, and they're on a really big long green wire. So sometimes I've used them as part of the table setting. Sometimes I run them along my sideboard. They have lights in them, and I sort of just lay them around the TV and up on window ledges and things like that. So I felt that worked, and it didn't feel too overpowering, too ritzy, too bling, too shiny, too sparkly. It didn't have any of those elements to it. So I felt that worked, and I didn't feel that it then sacrificed what I was trying to achieve with this Australian botanical or nature theme that we've got around the house. It also meant there was not going to be any, bling or sparkly type of wreaths. So I'm very lucky that I have an incredibly creative mum, and she has made me the most unbelievable wreath made out of willow, or it's actually I'm trying to find the word here, ornamental grapevine. She's taken that out of my garden. She's been able to make that go into a wreath, and then again she's added a whole lot of dried flowers, native flowers and so forth, to add to my wreath. So that fills in so beautifully with the theme. And so that will be hanging inside. And then I had another wreath that was actually made out of willow, and we just she did, I didn't actually, rewired some of the really fine lights, the little tiny lights you can get on a wire. We wrapped that through the wreath so it lights up. But again, it's made out of willow, and that will go on the door. So the other things that I've added throughout the house are also part of this theme. And when you're thinking about what theme you're going to have for your Christmas, you need to think about the colour palette. So it's the colour palette that you want to have throughout the house that you would then also utilise for your tree. Now, of course, rules are made to be broken. You don't have to do this, but I feel that if you've got a colour, some sort of palette that you're going to work with for your tree, then it's really nice to run that through the whole home. And again, it's like a deja vu, but this is decorating as well with your house, that there is something that runs through. You've got that continuity. And I think the last thing I was talking about was around creating continuity in your home. So this is how you can do it with decorating. So that is how I've been able to do it with my nature theme. So let's think about some of the other themes that you could do and how you're going to run it through your house. And it can be subtle. It doesn't have to be over the top. Theme that I had last year was silver. So I had silver, only silver. My daughter wanted this. It was her idea. We were only having silver decorations on the tree. So I had to go and supplement some of the silver or clear. We had no red at all. And it looked really impressive. I did a time lapse for that last year too, and we did that together. And then, of course, I had other silver elements running through the home. Now, silver's quite easy because you can use things like chrome. You can use other sorts of metals that have got a silver tone to them. It doesn't have to be sparkly necessarily. So I got out my silver angels. I got out my silver decorations, because when I lived in Amsterdam, the theme that I always had year after year was silver and red. So I had heaps of decorations and things to decorate my house, because in Amsterdam I really went all out with Christmas, even though I lived on my own. I really went over the top with decorating. So I had all of these things that I was able to bring back from Europe in terms of my silver and reds. So silver is a really nice theme. It's simple. And so sometimes less is more. You don't necessarily have to be using Christmas colours, which for me are green and red, mixed with either gold or silver. But you could just use one metal. So it could be silver or it could be gold. Now, there was one year I can remember that I did gold, and I had gold bows on the tree with gold decorations, and I mixed that with a little bit of red. So you could have silver bows, you can get fabric, you can get tinsel. It doesn't necessarily all have to be decorations per se. There's other ways that you can use a tree. That's another thing. You could actually have a theme that is based around a material. So maybe it's a fabric that you're using. Maybe you want to have a lot of bows. So you could have bows all over the house in a particular colour. You may want to use feathers so that your tree is covered in feathers, and then you've got feather decorations around the house too. So really think outside of the box here and just scatter it and sprinkle it around the house. to connect as you're coming through from the front door, you're able to see that theme go through. It may be that you want to use pastels. So I always notice every year that there's a lot of pastel decorations, pale blues and pinks, and, they're not the traditional colours of Christmas. So that's a really nice way to add sort of a modern edge. When I was buying some outdoor decorations, so because I've spent so much time in the garden the last few months, I thought, I need to actually do something in my garden to make it a little bit more Christmassy, and also because I have my guests coming. So I chose earthy toned decorations, so that was green and probably a bronzy sort of tone, and I put that in my grevillea plants. And they look lovely, but they're not over the top. But I noticed that they had a lot of pastels and the traditional colours. You might just want to choose your favourite colour. Your favourite colour might be teal. Well, who says you can't have a teal Christmas? It could look incredibly festive. Teal with gold would be amazing. Teal with silver would work. And I've only said teal because that is actually my favourite colour. But what's your favourite colour? You could have your colour themed Christmas. You could also use a traditional Christmas colours. And of course, that is very impactful, particularly with the red. So you could have red with green with gold, or you could have red with green with silver, which I think I mentioned before, or you may just have red and green. That is also totally traditional too. And then for your table, you may have green candles, you may have a red table runner. Think about how your table is going to be decorated as well. For my, nature theme, I will have very organic looking. I think last time I did that, I actually made my crackers and I used brown paper. And then again, I got sprigs of things from the garden. But for all of our napkins, I had red napkins, and then I had like a cluster of greenery from the garden that was effectively the centerpiece on that napkin, and I kept those. So I'm going to reuse those for this year. And we're going to have a tablecloth that's actually got magpies. It's actually a table runner. We've got some magpies and red in there. So that's part of the Australian theme. But if you were doing your red and your green, you can use that on your table. If you're using your favourite colour, you'd incorporate that on your table. And that could be a table runner. It could be a complete tablecloth. It may just be your napkins. It may be the colour of your crackers if you use them. It may be the candles. You may have a centrepiece, a floral arrangement, which I will also be having, which is a dried an Australian natives floral arrangement that will actually be a part of my centrepiece on the table. So think about how it transfers, not just from your decorating in your living with your tree, but how does it then transfer across to your table as well? Again, with your pastels, you can do exactly the same thing. I've noticed the theme that's becoming more and more popular in Australia is this, well, I'll call it a European sort of feel with snow. So you can get trees that look like they're snow tipped, I suppose, and it's a European tree that's been out in the snow. You might really want to do that, to have a very European feeling Christmas. You'd have a lot of candles. You may incorporate white then into your theme. I've seen white themed Christmases as well. So look, the list is endless. I think I suppose what I'm trying to put across here at the moment is, don't be restricted by what you're seeing in the shops is what is curated in the shops. Like if you go to Adairs or Bed Bath and Table or Freedom or wherever it is, that they have got a very specific collection of things that you can buy. Think outside the box, because you can always go to places like Spotlight and make things. I found that getting the kids involved with making the crackers or making creating the serviette holders or whatever it is, that we could actually make a lot of things ourselves. And I'm sure you can Google this like crazy as well. So choose your colour palette. Make sure you're choosing the same materials throughout, similar type of materials. Less is more. So this goes for decorating. It's the same with this decorating. Although I have to say, completely be a complete hypocrite here again. Sometimes people use Christmas as an opportunity to go absolutely maximalist and really max out on having every skerrick of their home decorated, every surface is covered in Christmas paraphernalia. And if that's you, absolutely knock yourself out. I do actually have a couple of friends that are like that. And it's like walking into another world because their entire house is just completely over the top Christmas. And if you're that sort of person, there are no rules. Just do that. If that makes you happy and you immerse yourself in that Christmas feeling, then you should absolutely do that. Think about the greenery that you're going to incorporate. So I touched on that. How does that link back to your theme? So, for example, as your floral decorative piece, if you're having any sort of flowers on the table, if you're using pastels, you may be able to pick out some flowers from your garden that are pastel colours. You may like to then go to your florist and have a pastel themed arrangement. But again, that is going to tie it all in together. If you've got a red and green tree and then you've sort of got a pastel floral arrangement, it won't be as impactful or as impressive as if you actually follow that through. And it really will catch the eye of people when you've got that following through as well. You can also follow it through if you've got people coming to stay. You may have a couple of sprigs of a flower or something on the bedside tables in the colour theme. You may have a little bit of tinsel, whatever it is, but you can definitely pull that through with your greenery, with your flowers, with your wreath and everything else that you've got. It doesn't have to be really obvious, but it could be just a nod to the theme that you've got predominantly going on with your tree. So check out my Instagram, check out the White Pebble Interiors Instagram account, and have a look at what I've done there with my tree to give you an idea on the nature theme. It is a little bit different, but I had a very express reason why I wanted to do that. I wanted to make it super different to what I know my friend experiences in Ljubljana. But I think that hopefully today you've got it's triggered enough of an interest and you think, oh, I could do this or oh, I could do that. And just remember there are really no rules here. I've just given you some ideas on what you could possibly do or could think about or how you can create some decorating layers of what your overall theme is within your home. Most of all, have fun with it. Get the kids involved. Do a time-lapse video of you putting up the tree or decorating the house or anything like that. It's a really nice thing to reflect back on, particularly if you're doing it with someone else. Last year I did it with my daughter and this year I did it with my mum. So you can, really get other people involved in your decorating process. There's shelves that you can do. You may have different members of the family doing different things. They're responsible for different things. So someone may be making crackers. Someone else may be responsible for doing the table. But, have fun with it. Experiment, see what you can do. But I just felt it's nice to think that not every Christmas your house has to look identical to the way it did the year before, and that you can really try on your creative flair by using it as an opportunity to maybe delve into a little bit of creativity that you may not have done in the past. This is the perfect opportunity to do that. So I hope you've been a little bit inspired. I hope you go away with thinking about what you may want to do. And please send me a note, drop me a note, francis@whitepebblinteriors.com.au, and let me know what you did. And even better, send me a photo. I'd love to see how you've actually decorated and created your Christmas feeling in your home. At this point, I would love to wish you a Merry Christmas. I know it's a difficult time for many people. This year will be particularly difficult for my family because we don't have our younger daughter here for this Christmas. So this will be a first. So I definitely send my best wishes to those who are in a situation where they don't have all their family members with them at this time of year. It is a very challenging time. So at the end, I suppose my message is my heart goes out to you. I certainly know what that feels like, and it's not always the happiest time of the year. I'm trying to distract myself and make it the best that I can in the situation that we're in. So I do wish you a very lovely festive season. If anything, a holiday, a break over this very busy time of year. Until next year, bye for now.
If you're ready to renovate or build your forever home, you're in the right place. Here are some ways to gain further inspiration or how we can work together. Book a chat with me so we can discuss your project in more detail and see how we may be able to assist you with one of our fixed price packages. You can book a chat with me directly at whitepebbleinteriors.com.au/chat. If you're after some peace of mind that your floor plan is as good as it can be, for a small investment, a floor plan sanity check could be just what you need. I review your plans as that second set of professional eyes, ensuring it's functional, flexible, and future-proof for lasting peace of mind. This can save you thousands in structural changes down the track. You can find out more and book directly at whitepebbleinteriors.com.au. And if you'd like to get your hands on some reading material, unlock your dream home and dive into our first ever magazine, Creating Your Forever Home. It's packed with expert insights, stunning visuals, and practical advice on building your forever home. Grab your copy and be inspired now. You can also access the first 3 chapters of my book, Your Forever Home, a practical and helpful guide to gain insights on how to create a home that will suit your needs for the long term. Everything is available at whitepebbleinteriors.com.au/links. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of My Forever Home. If you loved it, please leave a review, share it on Facebook and Instagram for your friends, and be sure to sign up to our newsletter for more insights on creating the forever home of your dreams. If you're really ready to get started, you can book a chat with me via the website whitepebbleinteriors.com.au or check out our online courses designed to provide a clear framework for you at myforeverhome.com. If you've got a question, be sure to get in touch at podcast@myforeverhome.com. Have a great day.